So I got this comment on my first live mix episode. Joey said, "It's great to see you're back. When did you make the switch from beat making to mainly engineering? I'd love to hear more about it." So I figured this is probably a good opportunity for me to just formally introduce myself to the internet and all of you subscribe to my channel. My name is David Takala. I'm a music producer, mixing, recording, mastering engineer. When I was in the second grade, my parents put me into piano lessons, and then I started taking guitar lessons in the sixth grade. Being a super energetic kid, it was hard for me to sit still and practice a lot, so I kind of fell out of practice with my instruments. But in college, I got introduced to DAWs, specifically Reaper. I was in the art school at the college I went to, and my major had a lot to do with any digital art that had time as a parameter. So video, animations, sound, all that stuff. It was kind of like a bit of an exploration into each of those fields equally. Through Reaper, I got put onto just the rabbit hole of music production that a lot of people go down on YouTube. Now, as far as switching to engineering, I wouldn't say I switched. I would say I used it to improve my production and also be more versatile for all the artists and bands that I like to work with. For the first 4 years of my music production and engineering journey, I was mainly self-taught with the exception of a handful of mentors that I knew in the city that I went to college. I got a job at Verify Sounds in Richmond, Virginia. Casey, the owner, was kind enough to give me a job when I really didn't know shit about shit. But that job made me realize that there was so much more to learn about all of this than just making beats and knowing how to press record in Pro Tools. Flash forward about a year and a half, I graduated from school. An artist that I was working with at the time, Mandy Rose, she ended up moving to Nashville for about 6 months to go to the Blackbird Academy, which I then followed and attended a year later. For those of you who don't know, Blackbird Studios is a massive recording studio in the middle of Nashville, Tennessee, owned and operated by John McBride. The Blackbird Academy is co-operated by John and the great Mark Rubel. The idea behind it is that you get 6 months at Blackbird. Half the time is spent in the classroom, and the other half of the time you are literally setting up, tearing down, running sessions, patching the console, patching all the outboard gear, making everything happen, making sure it runs smoothly with the supervision of engineers that have worked at Blackbird. Jeremy, one of the main studio instructors, actually pulled a lot of the wiring in Blackbird itself when they were constructing it. So he quite literally built that studio. The experience is unparalleled, I'd like to say. McBride has the biggest mic locker on the planet. I'm pretty sure that might not be fact, but at the same time, as a student, you're able to use any of those microphones. Microphones that would totally break my bank account, I got to use as part of my experience as a student and really understand what they sound like. All the vintage gear that would normally also cost an arm and a leg, I got to use a bunch of that stuff that otherwise I probably wouldn't have had a chance to use. On top of the amazing hands-on experience in the studio, we're very fortunate to get a lot of tours of other studios within Nashville and talk to the owners and the engineers that work there. They're kind enough to answer all the questions that we have as students and also just set aside a part of their day to give us that time in order to learn from people that have decades more experience than we do. That being said, I personally just want to be as useful as possible as far as making records goes. So if a band already has their album recorded and mixed, then they need a mastering engineer, cool, I'm down. If you want to make a project, but all you have is song titles and you need to build everything from the ground up, I'm down to produce it and record it and mix it and master it if you need me to. I will say this, for anyone out there that is just making beats, I strongly encourage you to branch out. The reason is, when I learned how to mix, my production got 10 times better. When I learned how to record, my mixes got 10 times better. And then that also just kind of trickled down to the production, improving it another 10 times. And then once I learned how to master, my mixes got a lot better. And then that also just continues to trickle down. So learning the technical side of things and knowing your microphones, knowing what compressors sound good on what sources in certain use cases, knowing your signal flow better than the back of your hand, knowing all the possible ways you can use that signal flow to get certain sounds, all that will tremendously benefit your production and give you more control over the technical side, allowing your creativity to flow that much more uninhibited. Also learn Pro Tools if you don't know Pro Tools. I know it's like, Pro Tools, ew. Learn Pro Tools. Trust me, you'll be way more useful in way more rooms. Pro Tools is industry standard. Whether you like it or not, that's the way it goes. Being able to wear as many hats as possible is great in this business because not every room is going to need beats. Not every room is going to need a recording engineer. Not every room is going to need a mix engineer, but there may or may not come a time when one of those seats opens up. And if you can do all of it, then you can always raise your hand and say, yes, I can get that job done. And when that happens, only good things come from it. That's pretty much it. Thank you for the question, Joey. I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.